Okay, so we have the new Trek road bikes. Let's have a look-see on the Trek homepage here. Now, what's really interesting is Trek have spec'd all their road bikes with the compact crank 5034. Let's check this out. This is the latest SLR. We're going to check this out. This is the latest Madone SLR disc, I should say. So it comes in this color. I like that color. It's a very good safety-oriented bike. Drivers can see a little bit easier. For drivers texting, they can see that radioactive yellow. This is the colors. See, I get distracted quite easy on this pretty stuff. This is a very nice website, isn't it? It's very easy to go through. Black and white. Black. That's nice as well. I've got a bike that check that color. That's my pick. I like that color. Let's have a look at the crank size. We'll get to this text in a sec, but look at that, 5034 on the Dura-Ace for 28 in the back. This is really interesting. This is really awesome, I should say, because there's not many cyclists in the world. Let's be honest. There's not many cyclists in the world who can spin out a 5011 on the flat, unless they're driving behind a truck or something. You know, in a bunch, I've never ever been in a pace line where I needed more than a 5011, and I've been with Sky, you know, Radio Shack, Lance Armstrong, Team Cannondale, on Peter Sagan's wheel swapping off. Pace lines at Port Adelaide, South Australia, when teams were down for 200, and I've never ever been dropped because I spent out my 5011. You know, maybe on a downhill of Alpe d'Huez or something like that, then yeah, you need more than a 5011, but that's for professionals only. But for 99% of consumers out there, the 99.9% of consumers out there, the 5011 is more than enough. And I've been using a 5011 for over 10 years now as my primary, and now I'm going down to a 46 because I don't need a 50. I mean, what do I need a 50 for? You know, like a 50 is still a huge gear. And people out there might go, oh, that's so bad. I guarantee you, none of yous could drop me on the flat in my 46. Anyone who says a 50 is too small, the hacks out there, the weekend warriors or the wannabe pros, I guarantee you couldn't drop me on my 46 on a flat road if I'm on your wheel drafting. It ain't going to happen. So this whole thing where we need 53s or even 52 as amateur riders, it's bunk. It's bunk. This is ego. It's just male ego. I've got to use a 53-39. It's like, because what? Like, but you can't push the watts that Chris Froome's pushing on the flat. So why would you need the same gearing he's pushing? You don't ride the same. Who rides at the same speeds as Tour de France riders on the flat in racing? No one does, except for Tour de France riders or pro team riders, etc. So there you go. That's just anyway. So Trek, fucking thumbs up. First company to actually put proper gear ratios on their bikes. I mean, 46s. I like 46. 46 is a fantastic big ring around town as well. It's just fantastic. Climbing the big ring longer. You know, so who's really doing Div 1 A grade level pace lines? I mean, even myself, I can hold them, I can do them, but I rarely do them because they're so fucking dangerous, fast pace lines. So, you know, Trek's really doing great there by looking at the consumer. You know, this is the point of a whole other video, but that's just fantastic. So I'm a big fan of that. Big fan of that. I like Shimano being at a 46 chain ring in these Dura-Ace ones. I'm using Shimano doesn't have to do that. Absolute Black's already doing it. And if you want the 46-30 combo, go to Absolute Black and get their chain rings, the asymmetric ones. They work great, and I've got them on this brand new Dura-Ace cranks. I've got a set of these, if you've seen my TCR lately. Anyway, let's get to the Madone disc. It's an aero bike, but it has fat tire ability. It has the ISO speed front and rear, is it? Is that front and rear ISO speed? Let's have a look here. What do you get here? So the Madone is for people who want aerodynamic, superior ride quality, you know, things like that. It looks pretty. So we got the Project 1. I like this separate bar and stem combo. So you can separate bar and stem, meaning that you can actually adjust them. So that's really good. When it's locked in like that, I ain't a fan. Is that an ISO speed up the front? Let me know down below. But it's got a top tube ISO speed. It's quite interesting. Not that I really feel that's an important thing to have, because these bikes you can run 28mm tyres. And a 28mm tyre at 80 psi is already pretty comfy enough. But hey, you know, this bike's got extras there, so it is good. Would I get one? I would get an Amonda probably if I was going to get one of these bikes. But I'll be keen to ride one of these and suss it out. And I'm not really a fan of disc brake bikes. If I was going to get a new bike today, I'd get an Amonda SLR with a direct mount. You know, the tarmac I might get, but the BB30 still breaker for me. BB30, not a fan anymore. Too much creaking maintenance issues. But the Amonda SLR is my go-to bike. What about the TCR Harley? I love the TCR, but the tire clearance is just a bit too tight without direct mount brakes. I prefer direct mount brakes. They work better as well. So TCR is my favorite frame in terms of stiffness, but the Amonda is a bit more of a functional bike. That's a different video, isn't it? Let's go back to the Amonda, Demano here. So it's got 12mm through axles, micro adjust seat mask. And that's another thing. The TCR, the ISP seat post is good. It's fantastic. Works, but you're making little adjustments in your seat height. It's a little bit more miffing around. So it's got that H1.5 fit. So it's not super racy. It's not super enduro. It's a bit. Is that? Is this ISO speed in the front as well? That's pretty crazy. But aerodynamics is, for me. Oh, excuse me. I think it's bullshit. Really. No one really needs an aero bike. It doesn't make that much difference. Look at what happened in the recent sprint. Peter Sagan and Gaviria got beaten in the sprint by a Dylan guy on a Bianchi, a non-aero bike. So a non-aero bike beat the world's fastest bikes in a sprint yesterday in Tour de France by a lot. So it comes down to your power. If you're pushing out the power, doesn't matter if your bike's aero or not. I think it's just marketing hype. So 7.6 kilos. So this is quite a heavy bike. So for me, I would get let's say what would I get? I would let's go let's get an e-bike and just blow everyone off out of the water. This is the bike I would get if I was going to get a new bike today. I could walk in there and shop and buy one of these right now. I could if I wanted to. But I've got enough bikes. This is what I'll get. It's very expensive. What it is, it's basically a rip-off. I reckon. That's an expensive bike for what it is, in my opinion. There's no way bikes should cost that much. You walk out the store, you've lost $7 grand already. Anyway, but this is a nice bike. Besides the price point, let's have a look at the weight of that bad boy. So 5.8 kilos. You know what I mean? That's what we're talking about. So. I can't see, for myself, for my riding style, I can't see any advantage of having disc brake bikes. I think disc brake bikes are fantastic, especially for maybe female riders or riders who are getting used to big descents. They can give a lot of confidence because of braking power in the wet. So you'll see I rate disc brake bikes for that, especially for maybe the first year of doing a lot of road adventures. Disc brakes are really good on the road. Otherwise, I find for experienced riders, they're a bit overkill, unless you're doing like cross or gravel riding where it's like a lot of mud and stuff, then you disagree. But if you're doing road riding, in my opinion, it is it's overkill for most riders. But again, if every second counts, ditch the disc brakes, in my opinion. If you want braking control in all conditions, then disc brakes are fantastic. And yeah, so they're really good at building confidence in that first year or two. But that's a nice lightweight bike, isn't it? That's super light. Anyway, so that is the Madone review. I think it's a pretty pragmatic bike, but look at what's happened. We've ended on the Amonda page. So if I was in the market for a new bike, I would skip the Demano, the Amonda, the Madone. They all sound the same. I would skip the Madone personally. For me, it's a pretty looking bike. It doesn't look too bad. Why don't I like it compared to the Amonda? The extra weight. That much extra weight. It's almost 2 kilos. That is huge in terms of acceleration, in terms of ride liveliness, etc. For me, the Madone, I'd have to ride it to be certain, but my assumption right now would be that this bike is heavy to ride compared to the Amonda SLR for the same money, a little bit less. Let's have a look at the Demano. What's the Demano weigh? Is there any Demanos anymore? Wow, they've ditched the Demano SLR, have they? That's a bit disappointing, but looks like they have. Looks like the SLR has been... Yep, SL's still there. The SL... Let's go look at an SL Demano. Where are we here? Demano SLR disc. Let's have a look at the disc brake version of the Demano, which is a nice bike, which I've ridden. It's pretty good, but I don't feel I need that much cushioning in a bike, but that's personal preference. 7.5 kilos. So, that's what we're talking about. The Amonda is incredible. Let's have a look at the Amonda disc. Yes, Demano SLR disc. Amonda SLR. Madone SLR disc. Here we go. What's with the colours this year? There's not many colours to really go with. That gunmetal grey. I'm not a really fan of the aesthetics of this bike either. It looks like, I'm not a fan of this. But anyway, that's personal preference. That's just personal narcissistic preferences. Let's have a look at the weight here. Now these weight 6.3, so you add an extra half a kilo on these bikes, which is huge. Half a kilo in terms of ride feel for me is huge. It's huge. It is huge. But again, end of the day, everyone's different what they want in a bike. There's no good or bad really. It's only bad if you buy a bike but you thought it was going to be something else. Like when I bought the S-Works Epic recently. You guys wanted me to get the S-Works Epic. I got that, and the bike felt great, except for the suspension felt too plush and cushy and too bouncy for climbing. It didn't feel like an aggressive race bike. And I bought it for an aggressive race bike feel. So I love that feel. I love that responsiveness. And the frame of that had that, but the suspension was fucking up. So Specialized hit me up. They're going to give me a free suspension upgrade to Race Tune. S-Tune they call it, I think. So that's good they had that customer service there. So that'll happen in a few months when I'm back in Australia. So buy a bike, be clear on what sort of riding you want. If you want to get fit as fuck, then buy the lightest bike you can afford. If you, and disc brakes can be good, but only if you got top end level disc brakes that save a lot of weight. Otherwise, the bike's going to be quite heavy, in my opinion. It's going to be quite heavy if it's just a cheapy disc brake. That's my comments and criticisms. I wouldn't buy a disc brake bike that wasn't Durace level, because if it wasn't Durace level, then it's going to come with heavy wheels and be heavy and sluggish compared to a non-disc brake bike at the same price. So there you go. If you're going to get disc brakes, then make sure you get Durace at the top of the line stuff, so it's a bit lighter weight. And that's my comments and criticisms. The Madone, I wouldn't buy one. I don't think it's a bad bike. I just feel that Trek's got better offerings. And you know what bike I would get if I was going to get a new Trek, and this is just in case there's no questions here. The Domane, I like the Domane. I like the Madone. I'm not saying they're definitely not bad bikes. I'm just saying that if I was going in the shop with 10 grand in my pocket, in my little hot pocket, this is the bike I'd walk out with. This is the bike I'd walk out with. It's super light. It'd probably snap in half in the first crash, but I love that color, and it would. I just know from riding these SLRs, they do ride nice. A little bit flexy, but they're quite compliant, and that big brake clearance. And this would be my go-to bike if I was going to go and buy a Trek. So this is why I wouldn't buy a Domane or a Madone. It's because I'd buy an Amonda instead. Not because the Domane or the Madone are bad bikes, but for my riding style, aggressive, manic, hyper, long-distance stuff, like big fatter tires, gravel riding, the Amonda, that would be my ticket because that beats it. And I also prefer more of an aggressive position. The Domane is a bit more too relaxed for me personally. Might work for you, but for me, I prefer the Amonda. H1 or H2 fit. Anyway, that's enough. If you got any questions, hit us on down below. That's why I wouldn't buy a Trek and Madone.